Thanks for tuning in to more thoroughbred action, handicapping style, on the playbooksports.com Horse Report with Jon Hardoon from the Sheets and also Mark Lawrence from playbooksports.com rejoining us once again. How's it going, Mark?
Back from vacation, I'd like to say, Greg, but nonetheless back from getting our magazine to the printer. So it's been a hectic few weeks, and I'm glad you guys were able to get the horses into the winner's circle while I was gone.
Absolutely. So, John, we're coming off a nice week last week, hitting both races at Belmont Park, and including, what was it, the first race? That was the one where you hit it at, what was the horse at again, the odds?
The horse paid $14, $14.60, I believe.
That was the one at Belmont, I believe, right? Because we did one Belmont and one Santa Anita.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember which is the one that you hit here. John's winner, was it Holiday Stone?
That's who it was.
He was a 10-1 when we were talking, but he must have went down just a little bit, right? Till about 7-1 or something, or 6-1.
That's the one.
Yeah, all right, but that was a good one. So anyway, we're on a nice run here, and we've got two races once again, one each from Belmont and Santa Anita. So let's get right to it. We're going to start with Belmont Park. And the first race that we're going to talk about is going to be race 7 at Belmont Park, 1 mile and a 16th. This is the inner turf race. This is a claimer, a $40,000 claimer. And for anybody out there, John, who is relatively new to the thoroughbred handicapping industry, explained a little bit about what the difference is between a claiming race and just like a regular race that's just a purse race or a stakes race.
Well, they have allowance races, stake races, and claiming races. And if you're in a claiming race and you're entered, let's say, for $20,000, if you own or owned any horse in the past, you are eligible to buy that horse for the $20,000 out of the race. And if 2 or 3 or 4 people want the same horse, they draw straws for
So
it.
what do you have to write out a check for $20,000 as an entry fee to the race?
You get a trainer and you have him drop a claim slip, and then everything has to be to the T. The horse's name has to be spelled exactly the way it is. Otherwise, they'll void the claim.
Okay, interesting. All right. I'm sure that's happened before.
Plenty of times.
We're not going to spend too much time with the first two horses, except for the fact that they misspelled my name here. It's actually D Palma.
Okay.
So I don't know what they're doing there. They're getting that wrong. I got to do a better job of. I'm spending too much time on these podcasts and not enough time training my horses. But anyway, anything with those first two horses? You do like the 2 though, John, as a 30-1 shot. So tell me why.
Well, the rail horse, I agree with you. Acra doesn't have much of a chance. But Soulmate, if you look at this horse's sheet, his last 2 races were both coming off of a layoff. He ran well in both of them. If you look at his last race that he ran last year, the race 3 starts back, he ran a 10. If he runs anywhere near that, he has a chance to get in, and he's 30-1. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he has a chance to get your tries or supers on the bottom. Okay. He's a live 30-1 shot, and he belongs in your gimmick somewhere at a big price.
All right. The number 3 is Clear Vision, and this is going to be my top pick. 8-1 shot. I really like everything that the horse did as far as consistency up until his very last race. But that's one of those races where I'm willing to draw a line through it because it looked like he was out of it from the very beginning. So, yeah, the rider change is a step up. The competition's definitely a lot better for him. So what about Clear Vision? What do you think about me liking this as my top pick?
This horse is fine. I mean, you certainly could excuse the last race. Like you said, something happened there, and it resulted in a 3.5-month layoff. However, that being said, he's a solid horse. He doesn't really run a bad race. He has 12s and 11s. Again, his last 2 races, not as good as the previous ones, but at 8-1, nothing wrong with him. But the problem with this race is you're going to find that most of the field is all within a couple of points of each other.
Yep.
So you really should try to avoid betting the shorter priced horses in this race because off of the figures, they're not better than other horses.
Yeah, that's why I definitely want this horse to stay at 8-1. I don't want to see all of a sudden 5 or 4 to 1 for some reason when it's post time. All right. By the way, out of those 3 horses we just flew by with, Mark, anything with any of those 3 horses?
I like your 3-horse, Greg. I can say this, that you look at him 3 back, he ran a big race, a stake race at Gulfstream, and then he come back in another big stake at Gulfstream, ran 8th. But I think the horse is, for the distance, he checks the box. And an 8 to 1, as you say, I think he's a horse that you absolutely have to have in your ticket at somewhere at some point.
All right, let's go to the 4, and I could definitely see this being one of the horses to beat for sure. This is John's top pick. Mark likes this horse as well. I definitely like this horse too. This is a really good one. Hopefully 6 to 1 is the odds that we're going to get on Baru. Like the fact that he's got back-to-back 11s coming in here. He ran a 7 in 2019. The only thing is he did not race in 2020. But again, he ends his 2019 campaign with a 7, starts his 2021 campaign 16, 15, 11, 11, John.
Yeah, and he was claimed out of his last race for 25,000, and they bring him back for 40,000. And, not many people improve off of Vladimir Siren. However, this horse is really in top form. And what I like really best about him is both of the 11s, his last 2, both run at Belmont.
Yes.
So obviously the horse likes this course. And, if you get anywhere near 6 to 1, I think he's the right horse to play in here.
Mark?
I concur. He's a horse, he likes the distance, 5 races at this distance, 2 wins in a second. Also, he's run 3 times at Belmont with a win. I think he's a versatile horse. He can rate or he can be early speed. I don't think the factor is how he breaks out of the gate is really going to be a big factor of this horse. I think he'll settle in. And he's shown that he likes the turf. He's 10 out of 13 in the money in turf in his career. I have him as my top horse, as does John. I agree.
Okay. I thought you sure that was your top horse, Mark?
No, I'm sorry. He's my second choice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that,
Greg.
Make
sure. Okay.
I have a number 2. Yeah.
All right. The 5 is a 5 to 2 shot, and I think you're right on, John. You got to stay away from these heavy favorites in a race like this, because I don't see anything here of why this horse is going to go off as a heavy favorite, except for the fact that you have Maker and Rosario combination, but 13 and 14 in the last 2 races.
Yeah, well, the only case I can make for the horse is that last year he had some fast numbers. He ran a couple of 9s, and he's now making his 3rd start for Maker. But at 5 to 2, can he get in? Of course he could get in. You should never be using a horse like this at a short price.
He's definitely one of the factors, but not at 5 to 2. All right, the 6 to 1 shot, Noble Thought. 4 races this year, nothing better than a 13. So what about the 6 to 1 shot, Noble Thought, John?
Well, his last race should have been better, and he was claimed away from Brad Cox, I think, had this horse 2 starts back, or, or Brad Cox claimed him and then he was transferred to Rudy. That's what happened. In any case, he's, again, no better than a lot of other horses in the race. And at 6 to 1, I'd much rather bet Baru than Noble Thought if they're the same price.
Yeah, because, again, the horse was going 17, 14, 13, then was claimed and had run back-to-back seconds, then was claimed, and then ran 6 and a 15. So what happens in that second race after the horse is claimed? Is that a difference any where you say, well, that first race, definitely I'm not going to play him, but the second race, maybe I'll give him a little bit more of an idea here?
Well, as you know, it doesn't matter if it's the first or second race. If you don't like the trainer change, you're not going to play him.
All right.
But again, obviously, odds always take command, and if a horse is a big price, well, then you can make a case for him.
The 7 is Mark's top choice, Mo Gotcha, a 10 to 1 shot. Mo Gotcha has 3 races on turf, 13, 14, 14, which has been a little bit more consistent than when he's on dirt. So why do you like the 7, Mo Gotcha, as your top choice, Mark?
I like what I see here of late of the horse here, Greg. You got Manny Franco up for this 3rd ride in a row on this horse. He's finished 1st and 2nd with Franco up on top. He's an Uncle Mo horse. And I like what we're seeing here. This horse, like you mentioned, only 3 times on turf. I think this looks like a little bit of a trainer switch up here, not only for the distance, but for the turf and for the price, 10-1. I'm going to pull a Greg DePalma and back a 10-1 horse.
Oh, okay. I didn't. That's interesting. I like that. What do you think about the 7 Mogacha, John? Again, we talked about it. You want to find these 10-1 shots in a race like this. So what about Mogacha?
Well, he's like a lot of other horses in the race. Listen, at 10-1, I would never knock a 10-1 shot. And the trainer is very good, Rob Atras. He does really good work. You know, the horse has a 14. Obviously, he would have to improve because, as we've seen, there were faster horses in the race. But again, that being said, you know, at 10-1, if you like him, go ahead and use him.
Yeah, and his last 3 races, he's gone off as almost the favorite. Looks like he's been like the second choice or close to the favorite. And this one, he's getting 10-1. So.
Well, he's back on the grass, and people think he's a dirt horse, I guess. Even though when he ran on the grass 2 starts back, he did go off only 2-1 that day as well. So obviously, he's a horse that people like to bet.
And by the way, in that race, he lost to Boru.
He ran 3rd, correct.
All right, next up is Street Copper, and a 5-1 shot. Nothing wrong with this horse, but 5-1. The odds are a little bit low. Second, 3 straight races. The sheets say 14, 12, 13 in those 3 races. What about Street Copper, John?
Well, I mean, at 5-1, he's really no big deal. You know, we've been through the whole field. We've been through 8 of the horses already, and with the exception of Baru, everyone else runs between a 12 and 14. Yeah. You know, that's why I wanted to include a horse like Soulmate, because he was 30-1 on the morning line, and he's drawn inside. So it won't take much for him to get in the number somewhere on the bottom.
The 9 is, again, another short-priced horse, Smile Brian. But this is a horse that as far as one of the favorites, this is like one of the better favorites of the race that I'm willing to put him in an exacta with my horse, since I've got an 8-1 number in the last 2 races, a 13 and then an 11. Second and first in those races. He's also a win and 2 runner-ups in 3 starts at Belmont Park, John. So what about Smile Brian?
Well, the trainer's doing exceptionally well. As you could see, he got the horse last time out, and he got him right to the 11. You know, the trainer's hitting at about 30%. So you have to use a horse like this. There's no question about it. He shipped in from Florida, where he ran 2 starts back, and he won. And then he shipped to Belmont last time out, and he won. So, you know, everything's good about this horse except the price. Yeah. That's the problem. But, you know, he's 7-2. Hopefully he'll go off around that, and that's probably a fair number for him.
And then the last 2 horses, we have the 10 Mandate, a 20-1 shot. And this is going to be my long shot. You got the 30-1 shot. I got the 20-1 shot Mandate here. Yes, I am concerned with the fact that as soon as Pletcher got off the horse, he ran a 29 and an 8. But before that, this was a pretty good horse. So at 20-1, I'm willing to roll the dice on maybe this horse finding his way inside the numbers. And Vittori Kin is the 5-1 shot. He's the 11. Another horse that I think is pretty good, except for the odds.
He's on the AEs. He's not going to get in unless someone scratches in the body of the race.
That's the 11?
Yes. Okay. As for your Mandate, you know, you make a good point. If you cover up the last race, well, he fits, or is certainly as good as plenty of other horses in the race at 20-1. Again, the only knock is that the bad race was for the new trainer, and this trainer has him today. But again, at a price, why not?
And okay, and by the way, is that where you see the A and the E on the program?
Also eligible.
Also eligible. So when that comes up, that's telling you
the only way he's getting into the race if there's a scratch in the body of the race.
Hold on there. AE. Okay. Mark, so anything regarding those other horses we were talking about? Those last few horses?
Well, as far as I can make a case of the 11 horse at the price, I don't know, but it'll be Irad Ortiz, and if he does get in, it probably won't be 5-1. It'll probably beat down to 3-1. 4-1, so the value might not be there. And I can see where you're looking at, Greg, because I'm a big believer of drawing a line through a horse's last race if it's a bad race, and he had run much different than he had before that prior bad race. So that's a race where you throw out the last race and take a look for the price. I concur. I see what you're looking at.
All right. So again, John, your top pick is going to be the 4. That's Baru, a 6-1 shot. You also like the 2 and the 9. Mark, your top pick is going to be the 7, Mogacha, a 10-1 shot. You also like the 4, Baru, and I'm going with the 3, Clear Vision, an 8-1 shot. And I concurred on the 4, but I also like the 11 as a long shot. And as I mentioned, the 9 is definitely my top favorite in the race. Let's go with Santa Anita now. This is going to be actually going off only about an hour, I believe, after the race at Belmont. So this is going to be race 3 at Santa Anita, a 6.5 furlong race. This is a turf race. This is a $75,000 purse race. So and only 7 horses in the field. We start with the 1, Canderel, a 4-1 shot. Both you guys like Canderel at 4-1, coming off a win not too long ago, raced in some big stakes races. Coming off not only that win, but also a 10, John, which is pretty much the best race of this horse's career.
Well, he had a 10 last year, but this time he has a little more time from that race. My only concern with this horse is, well, I have 2 concerns. First of all, he's breaking from the rail, which is not the place to be at 6.5 furlongs on that turf course. And he's coming off of Lasix for the first time. So how he's going to react to coming off of Lasix, we don't know. We're going to find out. But again, compared to a lot of other horses in this race, not that there are many of them, he certainly is a major contender.
Mark?
Well, here's a horse here, John, that finally found himself back in form his last race. He was in pretty good form. Ran 3 poor races before, or 4 poor races before that. And I think condition being what it is, Mandela Hernandez is a nice combination here for the money for the 4-1. I'm going to look at him, provided he does not go off the favorite.
Yeah, and that was actually interesting if you looked at it before the win, 6th, 10th, 6th, 4th. So you come into the last race and you're going, well, this horse is in form. But you just, again, I don't know what the field looked like. But he had run that previous 10, and you're going to get that. Sometimes it's not, you don't care about 6'10", 6'4" in his previous 4 races. So.
Well, those races were also, Greg, stakes races at Del Mar,
yes,
where he was really up in class. Okay, so he's back down here, I think, in a little bit more comfortable lane in this particular race as far as the class is concerned.
All right, let's go with the 2, a horse that has not run since 2018. And has never run on turf. What's the deal with this?
And he's 6-1. Are they out of their mind?
What's going on here?
I have no idea.
I mean, look, the horse ran a 6 in one of his last 3 races, but it seems like that 6 might have been the damage that had this horse eventually.
Well, it's 3 years ago. I mean, on almost 3, 2.5. What is it? Almost 2 years or whatever.
Crazy.
2.5 years.
Yes, crazy. All right, the 3 is a 5-1 shot, and this is Commander. And one of 2 Peter Miller horse trained horses in this field, coming off back-to-back 12s. John, you like this horse, and Mark, this is your favorite horse. So I'm going to let Mark start and tell us why this is your favorite pick of the race. Mark.
Checks a lot of boxes here, Greg. A horse for the course. He's raced 8 times at Santa Anita. He's brought home the money 4 times at the distance. He's cashed 3 out of 4 times at this distance. He's been in the money 4 of his last 5 races. Very, very, very consistent. Rare races on turf. He's been 9 times in the money here. He ran 3rd in the Grade 3 Daytona Sprint up for the first time, and a Peter Miller horse here. If he stays at 5-1, I think he's an excellent value horse.
Okay. By the way, your bandwidth was breaking up there a little bit, Mark. All right, John. So Mark likes this as his top pick. You also like the horse.
Well, last time he ran without Lasix, he's a 4-year-old who's improving. He has the 10 to go back to, which he ran first out this year. It's Peter Miller, and he's 5-1. So I look for value. And again, along with Candrel, the one horse, this is one of the horses I like in the race.
All right, let's go with the 4 now. Texas Wedge, the favorite of the race at 2-1. But this is now a 6-year-old, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, who has not won a race since January of 2020. And over the last 4 races on turf, 14, 12, 12, 14. So why would I want to take this horse at 2-1?
Not only that, but the 14 that he has 2 starts back on the turf at Santa Anita at the same distance. When they took Lasix off him, he ran the worst race of his life. The 14 there was the worst race of his career. So he's coming off of a top. He's coming off of Lasix, and he's going to be the favorite. 3 reasons not to play him, and that's why I'm not using
The 5 is a 15-1 shot, wound tight. And this is going to be my long shot play that I'm going to try to throw him in with one of the favorites. I know it's the first race of the year, so I'm not happy about that. But he did run a couple of 9s, January and December of January 2020, December 2019. He's got the 7 a couple of years ago. So look, he's not a favorite for a reason, but he's 5 out of 7 at Santa Anita. He's a long shot. And like I said, because I like one of the favorites, I'm looking for some value. So I'm going to go ahead and maybe take a chance with wound tight, John.
Well, the interesting thing about this horse is that the spot that they decide to bring him back to the races, he hasn't been out in over a year, yet they want to bring him back, and they could have brought him back in an allowance race or even a claiming race, and they bring him back in a stakes race. So obviously they think that he's ready. There's no way they would bring him back in this spot without thinking that he's ready to run. That being said, he's going to have to run a number off of a long layoff. The good thing about him is that he's 15-1. The other good thing about him is the spot they decided to bring him back in. Shows a lot of confidence.
All right. The 6 is Tilted Towers, an 8-1 shot. And this horse is coming off a 12 in his one and only start this year. What about Tilted Towers, Mark?
Well, you look at the horse here, 8-1. You can take a look at the horse just because of the price anyway. But his last race was the only race at this distance. He ran 3rd in that particular race. Also, you take a look at the track here at Santa Anita where he did just that. He's cashed money 3 out of 5 times on turf here. I think for the price, he has to be mixed into your ticket some way, somehow.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I noticed that is a good thing about the 6, John, is that the best race that he ran, the 12, he's run that twice. But that happened to be at the distance and at Santa Anita.
Yeah, but he's 5 years old, and there are horses that have 10s in the race. Listen, he's okay. I'm not going to knock an 8-1 shot, trained by D'Amato, but he would have to make a forward move. He's a 5-year-old. He certainly can. But I prefer others in the race.
All right, and here is the favorite I was talking about. This is my top horse. This is John's top horse, Chasing Money.
Well, he's not the favorite, Greg. The 4 is the favorite.
Oh, that's right, the 2-1 shot. Forgot about that. Yeah, good. I'm glad I forgot that. Let's hope that 4 goes off as the favorite. But yeah, I mean, take a look at this horse. 17-17, 11-11, 9. So he just gradually gets better and better. He knows how to run at Santa Anita. He's got 3 wins out of 4 there. He's got the really good jock. He's got the really good trainer. So, again, the odds aren't good, but I'm glad that the 4 is in the race. So maybe that'll help out with the money a little bit. But that's why I think you have to find a good exacta with this horse, too.
Yeah, and I think he's going to have a pace advantage. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. I don't think there's really much speed in the race. And I love the ride of Switch Today to Pratt. It's a 4-year-old who has 3 races this year, and each race is better than the previous one. And he's done well spacing this horse's races, the trainer. He's done a good job, but the only concern, he's coming off a Lasix, but again, so's the rest of the field. So,
Mark, what did you think about the favorite of the race or one of the co-favorites?
My concern is once Greg DePalma makes his bet in the race, he will go off the favorite. And you don't want that. You don't want chalk. I'm a little bit
John.
surprised. But as John mentions here, everything about the horse is good. I mean, prop being up, he's off a bullet work. He needs to, if he moves forward here, he's going to definitely be a factor in the race. He's 1-for-1 at the distance. He's won 3 out of 4 races at Santa Anita here. I think the horse, I can understand why he's 5-2.
Again, my top pick in John's is the 7, Chasing Money. John also likes the 1, Candrell, and the 3, Commander. Mark's top pick is the 3, Commander. He also likes the 1, Candrell. And my top exacto with the 7 is going to be wound tight, the 5, the 15-1 shot. Before we let you go, Mark, did you have a question that you wanted to ask John regarding the turf?
Yeah, I mentioned to John before we went on the show that Gulfstream now is racing exclusively at Gulfstream, no more Gulfstream West. And that means they're going to be racing year-round at Gulfstream. The turf course takes a beating as it is. There's talk about building a synthetic track there. But, John, my question to you is, when we talked about Belmont to begin with, we talked about a race that was being run on the inner turf. Any advantage at Gulfstream about the inner turf as opposed to the other turf track course there at Belmont?
Well, they're different surfaces completely. And the reason that Gulfstream gets away with having 1 turf course is because their turf course is so wide and they go and use different parts of it. So it's actually more than 1 turf course inside of other turf courses. You know, they can move the rail wherever they want. They move it out 100 feet. They move it out 150 feet. They can move it back inside. Whereas the 2 turf courses they have at Belmont they have them at Aqueduct. Actually, all the NYRA tracks have 2 turf courses, and they have an inner and an outer. And speed usually favors the inner turf course because the turns are tighter, and closers prefer the wider turf course where they can come and surf.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right,
You're
guys.
welcome.
John, appreciate it. I know the schedule is going to start picking up next week. I think next week I think that's the Mother Goose. I think that's next week.
Okay.
I don't know if, let me just quickly, right here. It's the Mother Goose next week. That's going to be, of course, at Belmont Park. And then also there's 3 grade 2 races at Churchill, including the Stephen Foster. That's a pretty big race. And then after that, we have the really big race at Belmont, the grade 2 Suburban. And then Gulfstream has a big race, the grade 2 Princess Rooney. So that's what's coming up over the next few weeks before we get into some grade 1 races at Belmont and Monmouth, and that's the Haskell.
And you have Saratoga and Del Mar coming as well. All right, guys, stay safe, be well, have a great weekend.
Take care, guys.